This will be the 5th generation of the P790, which means these are all about to get a lot cheaper. The big question that we all want to know is, are they any different from each other? However, as incredible as this iron is, and I want to explain how and why it fits and suits so many golfers, I also want to talk about the drawbacks of this particular head design, as there's no such thing in this game as the perfect golf club. Guys, how you doing? Welcome back to a brand new video. I had to take a trip down to Replay Golf after I heard the news of the new P790 coming out, and therefore I asked the boys at Replay Golf if they had the last 3 generations. A massive thank you to those boys, as they had 2 in X Stiff, and I've already got a demo 2021 P790 here in X Stiff as well. I think the best place to start is talk about where TaylorMade says they've made the improvements over the last 3 generations, and then what I'm slightly concerned about when it comes to the newest installment. Obviously, the first P790 was a game changer back in 2017, and let's be honest, this iron head took over the golf community by storm. However, the 2019 P790 was able to save 7% in weight when it came to speed foam and a slightly thinner face, meaning that weight could be distributed elsewhere. This was to increase ball speed as well as forgiveness. Moving on to 2021, we saw a big advancement, if you could say that, in speed foam air, which was able to save 69% on top of what the speed foam originally was. We were told this was again to give significant weight savings across the head. The big focus from 2021 onwards from the P790 was to actually try and get optimal ball flight conditions. There was a lot of speculation and talking about P790s being incredibly hot off the face, especially if you've got a fast club head speed, meaning you could hit a lovely shot and for whatever reason it just airmails the green, which is what I'm very excited to talk about as we go through the testing later. 2023 rolls about, and to be honest, all this weight saving, engineering, thinner faces kind of was put to the back burner, where again the major focus was on head design, making sure that the CG was lower in the longer irons and then obviously higher in the shorter irons, so that you got optimal ball flight control from these forgiving, powerful heads. Which brings us into 2025. However, something iconic has changed through the sets. You see, these 3 irons that I have here have had 30.5 degrees loft when it comes to the 7 iron. That has not changed. The new installment of the P790 has 30 degrees. Now, I honestly can't say that 0.5 degrees worth of loft change is going to make a huge difference to power, distance with the new installments compared to these. One thing I do know that has to be made sure of is that if TaylorMade are de-lofting these already incredibly low spinning irons, which we'll talk about in a minute, then they better be doing something in terms of head design. Otherwise, they might be coming back to the same stumbling blocks that some of the previous generations had with them. Now I'm going to show you prices of what all these go for as we go through this video, and I guess I'll start with the P790 down the bottom here. However, let's just talk aesthetics and the way that these look, not only from the back, because don't get me wrong, these I would definitely say look better, more modern, more clean than obviously the older generation. However, from the top, and I guess this kind of gets thrown about every year, especially with the new edition of the 2025. I'm almost certain, I'll try and find the post in a minute, that I heard that the newer one has got a thinner top line. And I swear we hear that. I mean, it almost must be invisible, our top lines in terms of golf clubs nowadays. However, this one here, this is the 2019, the oldest generation. Here, the 2023. I mean, is it just me, or do all the top lines look exactly the same? I almost want to say the 2019 one looks the thinnest. Now I want to show you a little test before we get into the main one and why the P790 is genius. There's a reason that I have the P790 in the studio to fit for, especially the 2021 version, because again, if I'm fitting people for secondhand clubs, I want them to be able to find the P790 out there in the wild, or for that matter, me finding it for them. But because it's so popular and versatile and so many golfers in the country and world want it, you buy the 2021 P790 here on the right hand side. Off the top of my head, I'm going to say 550, 500 pounds, maybe 600 pounds, and I guarantee you it's going to save its money. As I compared it to the P790, the 2019 version, 400 pounds, 450 pounds. Apart from this one, which I presume is going to get a lot cheaper, a lot quicker and join the other two, but when this hits the same value as these two, they are one of the safest bets when it comes to irons in the second-hand market. Even though I know so many of you will get on with the P790, it's nice to know that if you want to get rid of it quick, swap it for something else. Number one, you're not going to lose any money. Number two, there's going to be a long list of people looking to take it off your hands. So let me paint a picture and explain the massive advantage of the P790, but then also the disadvantage of the P790 in the same breath. So you're going for a club fit. You're an average golfer. You play off 16, 17, 18, looking to come down. 85 miles an hour is your club head speed, and you are looking for maybe more distance, maybe a better looking iron, something to upgrade from your last one. These G410s are 30 degrees, that P790 is 30.5. And obviously I don't spin the ball that much anyway, but 82 miles an hour club head speed, obviously good efficiency from the G410. Neutral path, slightly down into the ball, 168 yards carry. And what I want to show you through this test, especially when I hit the P790, is that it's not really going to do that much in terms of numbers different, but the fact that it looks like this compared to this and pretty much give you the same amount of forgiveness as well as power is, let's be honest, one of the major reasons why this thing did so well. Oh, mind you, I did just catch that a tiny bit thin. Because so many golfers, when it first came out, said, I can't hit this. There's no way I can get away with playing golf with this club. As I evidently showed you there, I caught it off the first two grooves and still got good distance. That sounded better. 82.3, spot on. Sadly, you can't see the G410 dot as it's just under the blue dot of the P790. Now, I've just got standard stiff flex shafts in both of these golf clubs, and obviously this isn't a crucial test, but my point is the P790, with the way it looks, has the ability to give the average golfer very similar numbers, very similar distance to, let's say, the modern cavity back. And one of its huge advantages with shafts being put to one side is that it has the ability to launch the ball low and keep the spin down as well. However, low launch and low spin isn't everyone's cup of tea. Some of you do that too much, hence why the G410 in the right shaft, etc. We must remember the majority of golfers that are just starting this game are going to be over the top, are going to be coming down with the open face, are going to be flipping their hands behind the ball, adding loft to square up that face, which increases loft, increases spin, and it's one of the reasons why this club's so versatile. If you've got an average club head speed, it's going to give you incredible distance. If you're relatively fast and you cut across the ball, adding spin, well, this thing is also going to give you incredible distance. That's that bunker shot cut for you. What's that spinning at? 5, that's impressive, that is, wow. And of course, technique needs to be improved here. You don't want to be coming across the ball that much, but look at that efficiency with the club path being so out to in. I mean, that's perfect launch, that's perfect backspin. At 90 miles an hour, 180 yards carry. No wonder this thing has flown off the shelf. Okay, it's test time, and I did 5 shots with each club and then a round 2 of 5 shots each to give this the fairest test and obviously not allow a warm-up to intervene with my club head speed or my club path. I have to say, I couldn't remember the amount of control that I've ever had from a P790, especially with this 2019 model. That is probably because I've got a shaft in here that I'm very familiar with the Project X 6.5. However, I was starting to rack my brain, where's this hot shot that everyone used to talk about and even myself used to experience that just comes out of nowhere? Anyway, without the other two to compare to, I have to say the feel and sound of this thing did feel rather good. However, that did change later on in the testing. Now moving on to the 2021 model, and right from the get-go, I did notice the fact that my spin was actually lower with this head than it was with the 2019 head. And ironically, it's supposed to have a higher launching, higher spinning shaft. Not that much, because it's still X-stiff, but it's still supposed to make some difference. Overall sound and feel, I didn't really feel that much difference between the two. They sounded different, but I wouldn't say one stood out and went, yeah, this is it. I could easily see a sample of 100 golfers voting on one feeling compared to the other. Now, maybe you could put it down to the shaft or potentially the fact that I'm not a robot. However, I did find quite a few misstrikes with this round when it came to the 2021 version. That being said, did it make the blindest bit of difference in terms of dispersion and obviously distance? Well, realistically, in the grand scheme of things, no, hence why this head style is so good. Which brings us on to the 2023 version of the P790. And I have to say, when I hit this out the middle, it's like nothing I've ever felt before. Now, don't get too excited because, again, I have to put value for money here and show you the data towards the end. However, it does blow my mind that after 4 generations of a club that looks, feels, sounds incredible, that they would be able to do it better. And with this thing, I feel like they did. Because out the middle, this thing sounded like a gun, and I've never experienced that with this particular head. Again, overall, this club I felt quite controlled over. It's not to say the 2021 version is. In an ideal world, I'd have the exact same shafts, length, and lies in all of these heads. But again, now I think about it, especially after round 2, I'm quite glad that these are all slightly a bit different. I'm glad I did round 2, as I did see a sudden increase in club head speed as I went through round 1. Therefore, I kind of wanted to level the playing field with a round 2. That being said, it finally came. 2 of the shots from the 2019 version, which I did pull, and again, that's a technique issue. Everything that you pull left does go further. Hence why, even on the green here, you can see my left shot's slightly longer than the flag. My block right's being slightly right of the flag. However, this hot shot that comes out of nowhere is something that the P790 was always blamed for. And hence why we've now seen the rhetoric in terms of the marketing that each head's different. You're trying to get, yes, the power, but also controlled ball flights, that you don't just get one that just jumps out of nowhere. Because let's be honest, you're essentially getting punished for a good golf shot. But I have to say, I didn't actually experience those hot shots with either of these 2 golf clubs, the newer generation. So here's my shot dispersion and pattern. These are obviously coming down to missed strikes. However, let's be honest, that's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. And the forgiveness of these irons, considering their slim design compared to most, is one of the reasons why they are so popular. Now, this is over 10 shots with each club after those 2 rounds. You can see the 2019, I was on average hitting more of a fade, and potentially one of the reasons why I felt more controlled with that head versus the other. However, there's not much difference, a degree in terms of club path, and as you can see, my angle attack stayed similar as well. That is just astounding. Not only that, this number at the bottom actually shows a variance as well. So some were 1.4, some were 1.36. Actually, ironically, the 2023 version, I must have hit worse, didn't even realize that. Efficiency is the amount of ball speed from the average club head speed. That is a great indicator in terms of forgiveness of a head. My club head speed varied between the few of them. Actually, the 2021, I was swinging a bit slower. Maybe that's because I wasn't as confident with it, but then still produced good numbers. I'm not too sure. Before we explain how we got there, I mean, that is quite eye-opening, isn't it? Before we talk about launch and spin, I mean, that is pretty similar. And again, I'll show you the path. Bearing in mind, the Project X 6.5 is supposed to be the lowest launching and lowest spinning basically known to man when it comes to irons. I mean, they're all very similar. If anything, actually, I think the Project X is the highest. We can't really talk about ball speed because on average, I swung the 2019 a lot faster, maybe with my cut fade. So realistically, we've seen the efficiency. In terms of the amount of club head speed to ball speed, it's exactly the same. That is really interesting. Launch exactly the same, but these are all 30.5 degree heads with all X stiff shafts. So again, I shouldn't be shocked with that, even though, as I just explained, slightly different profiles between them all. Spin, again, pretty decent. I've always spun the ball low. At this kind of club head speed, I'm looking for that. Those ones that jump out and go 210 yards, which I experienced with the 2019, is when I've pulled it and that dropped to like 4.4, 4.6, and all of a sudden it just goes out of nowhere. I did actually get rid of those 2 shots, by the way, for this test, so obviously the numbers were about right, and I didn't just use those jump outs to kind of mess all that up. However, we then come down to distance and obviously carry. All of these had appropriate descent angles on average, i.e. 45 degrees and slightly higher at my club head speed. And let's be honest, apart from maybe a bit more variance with the 2023, I guess I have to say that is me, that is not the club. But realistically, through those last 3 generations, we haven't really seen that much difference. Obviously, these are the best value in terms of money, but you might find quite a lot of wear. Like again, this one here's got quite a lot of wear in the middle just because of its age. And again, when it comes down to those hot flyers, I think you'd be more susceptible from an older P790. But I don't think they've cured it, because these are still very much on the knife edge in terms of launch and spin, and I could see yourself being in the rough, downwind, nice summer's day, these coming out very hot as well. I'm very impressed with the way the 2023 version sounds and feels, but realistically, when it comes down to the price tag in 2025, I personally would wait a year. If you got these for around £600, I think it's incredible value, because I know this is gonna hold its value around that £600 mark for another 2 years, because guess what? These are still around £600. If I was being honest and you asked me at the start, would I expect to see much difference between these 3 generations? I probably would have said no. Not because I'm skeptical of the golf industry, but they made such a good product back in 2017 and 2019. Why on earth would you change it opposed to just slightly tweak it? Guys, if you've got any questions on your golf bag or golf game, sasgolfacademy.com. Catch you guys later.